Hello and welcome to That's Girls Breeze. Today is Monday, September 14th. This is episode 279, I think. I just looked it up, but I've already forgotten. That's what it is, 279. I am Amy Beth, also known as the Fat Squirrel on Ravelry, and the Fat SQRRLS. Okay, let me just. The Fat SQRRL on Instagram because somebody else was the Fat Squirrel. Gus is having a bit of a tizzy, so if I have to like quick edit out and stuff, it's because he's barking. I don't know, somebody is scraping something along the road somewhere, and he is just really upset about it. I hope you're doing well. I'm doing really well. It's pretending like it's almost fall here. Like it feels like September. The other day I went out to pick tomatoes and beans, and it was actually the tiniest bit chilly, and I only got 3 mosquito bites. I'm just saying. Maybe fall's gonna come. So this episode will contain some shenanigans. It'll contain knitting and quilting. I actually have more than one project this week. I know. It'll have quilting and, it'll have shameless self-promotion. And yeah, that's it. So let's get into it. Shenanigans. Suddenly I don't know what we're talking about. I felt like I was fairly prepared, and suddenly I start to talk to you and I'm not sure at all what we're supposed to be talking about. I do know that one thing we want to talk about is we've made our first apple picking trip of the year. If you're new to the podcast, I have a slight obsession with apples, like just a little bit. I am obsessed. Like, I don't know what it is about an orchard, but when we go to pick apples, I feel like the most intense like rush of just like overall well-being and contentment and excitement and connectedness and like all of the positive things that I can feel usually, I feel in an apple orchard. And I don't know what it is, but I am so thankful that I get to experience that at least once a year. Usually we go back for more than once. Our kind of orchard of choice is Anderson Orchard, which is west of Indianapolis. And we were trying to think about it. I think we've gone there every year since Tova was 2. Right. I was a little bit worried because we had in Indianapolis and in lots of the Midwest, we had a Mother's Day frost. And for example, like strawberries, it was really hard on. It was really hard on the peaches. And so I was concerned that maybe it was going to be a bad apple year. And in fact, an orchard that I recently started going to in Batesville, Indiana, that's like on the way to my mom's house, they aren't actually even going to open this year because it was hard on them. But for some reason, my orchard, I don't know, maybe their earlier varieties didn't do as well because they didn't have U-pick until like the first week of September, which is usually they have U-pick like through July, through November. So I don't know if it just affected, I don't know, or if it was COVID related and they were just trying to figure out how to organize things to be prepared for folks. But ultimately we went and we had just a lovely time. They had, I like Cortland apples for sauce. I like to eat them too, but I really like them for sauce. They cook down to a nice consistency without having to work too much on it. So I really like those for sauce. And then this year my husband asked if we would maybe try to, actually I think he was just like trying to find a reason to pick more apples, which is really cute because he doesn't ever eat an actual apple. Like he does not eat fresh apples at all. Right? I don't know. I should have had a questionnaire before I got married, and that but I wasn't prepared then. I didn't know how much I loved the apple orchard then. But anyway, but he does like to pick the apples, so that's good. But so I think he was maybe just trying to like figure out a reason that we could buy more apples, and I was like, I'm not questioning it. I'm on board. So he asked if we could maybe like can apple pie filling, and I've never done that before. But I'm gonna just try it this year and just see what happens. I'm not super like keen on like the sure gels and the clear gels and the jelly gels, but I'm gonna go for it because it was just a way to pick more apples. So I'm gonna try it. Maybe we'll like it. So with that, we also picked some Jonathans, and this year the Cortlands are kind of like, I think from what I heard from most people, the apples were kind of a little bit late this year, just in general. But the Cortlands were definitely like closer to the end of their, if not their cycle, their pick. Because I mean, we had lots of Cortlands that were not totally ripe yet when we picked them, but they had been picked through pretty heavily. And there was like a lot of worm damage. And usually there is more worm damage on them than like Jonathan's, for example, but they were pretty impacted this year. And I don't know if that's just because, again, we got kind of late, because usually I'm picking them like the weekend that they say they're available, I'm there. So we were a little bit late this year picking. So I don't know if it was that or if they'd just been picked through or what have you, but it's fine because we're not going to store them. I am totally like militantly crazy about no wormholes in the apples for anything that's getting stored, because if you don't know this, if you pick apples that have an active worm in them, and they're real tiny, the little holes are very tiny, it's not that it damages the fruit, it's that those little jerks will just take a bite out of like every apple you have in storage. So this year I said, don't worry about it, because there were just too many that had damage. And so we picked about a bushel of those, which is about 40-ish pounds. Sounds so crazy, because it is. It's totally crazy. And then we picked we picked a half bushel of the Jonathans. But the Jonathans, they were like their first or second week of availability, and they were gorgeous. They were kind of small, but they're a smaller apple kind of in general. But they were beautiful. The trees were like, I'm going to put some pictures up here. Right, so the trees were just like loaded, which makes me get a little bit crazy. I get really excited. But I was trying to be reasonable. So we picked a half bushel of those. So we only have about 20 pounds of those to do for only. We have about 20 pounds of those to do for pie filling. And eating. I like Jonathan's too. But yes, I'm very excited. I mean, so now they're all. Last year, I was feeling like I was so together, and I went ahead and processed my Cortlands into sauce, or half of them, about as soon as we picked them. Like I did them that weekend, and I was like so proud that I was on it, only to realize that my sauce is so much better if I let the apples sit. Like it kind of had like this almost like a waxy taste, and I know that that's not correct. But I think it was because it was starchy. They were still starchier than sugarier. Like the starches hadn't totally transformed into sugars. Because they just didn't taste right. And I had to put a lot more cinnamon in them. I actually had to put sugar in them, which I don't normally do. Or I normally put a really like low amount to help balance out the acidity in them. But and just also to help them preserve longer. Sugar is great for maintaining flavor, texture, and stuff like that in your foods. And I'm often kind of like, well, I don't want to put sugar in there, but it does help them stay at a higher level. So especially if you're planning on canning over like a 6-month period, like, or, because we eat our applesauce all year up until it's time to pick again. It does help. So, if you're really averse to putting sugar in it, I totally get you. You can either freeze your applesauce, or you might decide to put like, this sounds crazy, but you might have like round 1, 2, 3, and 4, where you put more sugar in the sauces that you're going to keep for longer. And your earlier season sauces, you don't put as much sugar into can, but you do you. Obviously working within guidelines provided by the FDA. But anyway, so that was lovely. And so because I realized that last year that the apples really did do much better when they sat. I've got like apples everywhere in the house. Well, you can imagine 60 pounds of apples is quite a bit of apples. So they're like, I try to kind of take them out of plastic, and because they do lose moisture, like especially Golden Delicious and stuff will get wrinkly a little bit, but for sauce it doesn't matter. So they'll kind of lose their moisture and kind of get a little bit wrinkly, but also it just, especially soft apples like Cortland's, when they're in those half bushel bags, especially the apples in the middle can very quickly go downhill because the pressure of the other apples on them kind of helps to kind of start that bruising process. And I have found that they do much better if you can get them out into just like a couple layers versus being in that bushel bag where they're all kind of pressing on each other. So we do that. It just means we have a lot of we have like, our reusable grocery bags are kind of like boxes almost, the way they're like a hard-sided bag. So the grocery store folks like them because they're much easier to pack into. And they're really handy for stuff like this, where you're just trying to keep, well, I mean, it's definitely not going to keep a mouse out, but definitely not for long term. But anyway, just kind of keep them just from like rolling on the floor, essentially. But still kind of keep them in a single or again, 2 to 3 layers of apples. So they're just all hanging out in my hallway here in front of my basement door. So, you know, the house looks harvesty because there's also like a giant gourd on them because they had this giant gourd that just looked too much like a candy roaster. It's totally not, because I got it home and I realized it was too orange, because the candy roasters are almost kind of like pinky kind of color, but it just looked like it a lot in the moment of the high of being in the orchard store. And it was like in this big giant bin of decorative gourds, and I was just like, I felt like in a minute that I had like found a secret thing, and I was really excited. I was like, I think that's a candy roaster. And Tova's like, who would never eat a gourd in her life? Well, she will eventually, but not at this moment. And so I was really excited to get this like 15-pound gourd for $5. Who knows if it will be good at all to eat. But whatever. Even if it's not, it's cute. What are you gonna do? Oh, and every year they have the giant shawls, and I'm just not a woman who makes a pie, but every year I'm like, I gotta get that shawl because they're just huge and so beautiful. And they had an entire giant bin of delicatas, like, you know, like the giant bin of pumpkins that you have at like your Kroger or whatever, that's like the forklift bin, like it's the bin that's made to go on a forklift. They had one of those full of the delicata squashes for $1 a piece. So I was so excited. I also really love the delicata squash. Have you had them? I usually don't. I'm usually not a fan. I'm so sorry. I keep burping. Thank you for being patient with me. Anyway, I'm not usually a fan of like the sweet. But the delicatas are delicious, and they're so easy to prepare that kind of like offsets I would like them to be slightly less sweet, but all you have to do is like cut them in half, scoop out the seeds. You can roast them as they are, or I like to chop them into slices and then just roast them at 400, 500, whatever you got going on in the oven. You put a little fat of some sort on them. It helps to kind of keep them from getting dried out. Some salt and pepper. This time I had like some Penzeys smoky salt that I was like, for some reason I bought. I don't know why I bought it. I don't even usually like the smoky flavor. I mean, I like the flavor of actual smoke, but you know, like that fake smoky flavor. Whatever. It was delicious. They're wonderful with spicy sauce on them. Like if you just, I do not care for spaghetti squash. It still. I will occasionally eat one just because it's like, I just get tempted into thinking I want that again. But I don't really like the texture of spaghetti squash. But the delicatos are delicious with spaghetti sauce on them. Oh, especially if it's like a spicy sauce. So good. Basically, winter squash is awesome. I'm not successful at growing winter squash. This year I did not even try because they're just well, actually Toph did try to grow. Last year we got this beautiful, it was called a Cinderella pumpkin. And it was almost like rainbow color. I don't even know how to explain how pretty it was. It wasn't like a rainbow, like ding, but it was like an Indie Dyer autumnal rainbow thing happening. It was gorgeous. And so she tried to grow, she saved the seeds and dried them and tried to grow them this year. And actually she totally got plants to come up and they had flowers and they were looking gorgeous, but we must have gotten some sort of vine borer or something because they just like all of a sudden went downhill like within 2 days. It's crazy. Speaking of that, and that's all I have to say about the orchard is that I love it. Yay. I'm hoping to go back for some Ida Reds because I love those to eat. Oh, and I follow this stupid antique orchard. And I don't even know if it's in Michigan or Wisconsin. I can't even remember. I follow them on Facebook and I really need to unfollow them. Because they keep posting the most insane and wonderful of apple pictures and I am 100% jealous of them. It's ridiculous. Like today they just posted a variety that was like from 1766 or something from England and I was just like, oh, it gives my heart sadness. And they totally are just like some like low-key. There's one antique orchard that has like, they actually like do online ordering and they'll make you like, this one is called Weston's Antique Apple Orchards. The one I'm talking about. There's a fancy one. Well, it's not fancy, but there's one that does have like an online store where you can buy like a sampler of like a gabillion apples and then spend $30 gabillion for shipping. But Weston Apples totally looks like this chill, low-key orchard. They do like grafting classes in the spring. But the thing is, apple season is so long. Again, apple season is like fully from August through November. And so I don't know if I can arrange, I mean, maybe I could arrange a 4-month vacation. I need to arrange a 4-month vacation so I could just go up there and be there for apple season. I'm telling you, my rock and roll tour is going to coincide with apple season. Playing at an orchard near you. Oh man, I gotta really learn my banjo. I have fallen off my banjo practice so much. I gotta get back on it. It's just felt really, well, you understand. Everything feels very big right now. And so sometimes it's hard to make time for that. Mostly I'm making time to just do nothing. But not in a good way. Like, I'm really spending way too much time on the internet. Like, whatever. We don't need to talk about that. But I do need to make more time for my banjo this fall. Because, my banjo, knitting, quilting, needle felting, class tour at an orchard near you does need to really get put together. Need to get that packaged up. Get it going. Right. Oh, but speaking of harvesting things, tomatoes are still going. My green beans have really like whooped out. They have definitely slowed down. But my tomatoes are still, I mean, I would have liked to trade. Like my green beans to keep going, but whatever, it's fine. My poor little tomatoes, they look pitiful. I've like stopped taking out their dead foliage. There's totally aphids on them. It's not even benign neglect at this point. It is just straight up neglect. But they still keep going. What are they? There's chipmunks eating them. We have a chipmunk in the yard now. Oh my gosh, the other day. Did I tell you about our groundhog? I don't think I told you about our groundhog. Yeah, that was just like last weekend. So we definitely have a chipmunk, and I love that the chipmunk, she takes her tomato and like sits in a cute place and eats her tomato and then leaves half of it there. And earlier in the season, I would have been like, now I'm just like, you go, honey. That's one less tomato I have to get. I'm just going to be honest. Although I do need to make some tomato jam, I think. That sounds good, right? Anyway. But we had a groundhog in the yard the other day. Oh my gosh. I was actually standing in the dining room where we sometimes record with the curtain behind me. I was standing at that window and just like looking out to see how the plants were doing. And I saw him on top of our compost bins. Like we have like the rolly compost, not rolly, but whatever. We have compost bins. And he was like, and they're right up next to like our privacy fence. And he was like wedged between them at our privacy fence. And at first I thought, he is stuck and I am going to have to unstick him. And I'm not sure how to do that. But luckily he soon like clambered up and was like looking around. I know that, again, earlier in the season, I would have been like, get out. Now I'm like, you just do whatever you want to, sir, because you're so cute. I'm telling you, I am like working on my Snow White lifestyle because we've had a groundhog in the yard. Now we got squirrels. We definitely have chipmunks. Well, we may have one chipmunk. We may have one squirrel. What? I don't care. It's fine. We have about 1 billion butterflies and so many fat bumblebees that are just so fat, and I'm feeling it. Like, look at our urban oasis. I'm really excited about it. And I appreciate everybody who is concerned about our ground wasps. I totally understand that some ground wasps are aggressive, but these, oh my gosh, they were chill so far. I can't really tell. I wonder if they live in the flower bed because I cannot figure out where they're coming from. But anyway, so far they've been chill and I have not seen one tomato hornworm. So maybe they're those kind of wasps. I don't know. That was again to say that we harvested our carrots and we got like 3 carrots. It was pitiful. Actually, it wasn't. It was really cute. I mean, really, it took like all of 5 minutes of effort to like harvest or to grow our 2 pounds of carrots, probably. That might be an overestimation. We had about 6 pounds of greenery on our carrots and about 1.5 pounds of carrots. Those carrot tops were gorgeous. But as we were harvesting them, Tova found a caterpillar. So we got to have that fun this week too. He's black swallowtail caterpillar. So she kept him, and we kept the some of the 1 million pounds of carrot tops aside because they usually like parsley, but it must be related. So we kept those aside, and she put him in a jar. She was taking care of him, and he is so cute, and he eats. Oh my gosh! He just like eats the corn off the cob, but it's a leaf, and it's so cute. Except, did you know that caterpillars poop like half of their body weight a day, apparently? That is not a scientific, I did not measure the poops. But I mean, just visually, that was a lot of poop that caterpillar made. I mean, really, like volume wise, it was shocking. But anyway, but he totally chrysalised. So now he's like a little fancy man in his little coat. We don't know if he's gonna wait for over this winter or if he's gonna come out this fall. Sometimes they go either way. We're just keeping an eye on him. Very exciting. Actually, Tova came down at one point. It was like, I think my caterpillar is very sick. It threw up and now it's curled up. And I was like, oh gosh, we've given it something of our dumb human germs. But apparently he was just getting ready to put himself in his magic cocoon. So excited. Now that I've said that, what is the difference between cocoon and chrysalis? Are those the same thing? They're often used interchangeably. Okay, so I didn't make that part up. However, they are two completely different things. Cocoons are specific to moss, while chrysalises are formed by butterflies. Okay, so it is a chrysalis. The more you know, y'all. Speaking of the more you know. Okay, so I've been cold packing my green beans to can them because I was just like, why would I add an extra step? I found out through looking up if I should can these apple slices, excuse me, that the reason you hot pack them is to drive the air out of them. I did not know that. Why didn't it tell me that when I looked at the green beans, the canning directions? Yeah, no, apparently when you blanch stuff, it drives a lot of the air out. Sorry, Toba had to go to class in the other room. Recording is a little bit complicated because we have no rooms that, well, my bedroom has a door that closes, but I'm not recording in my bedroom because, anyway, so she had to go to school. Anyway, so apparently you do hot pack or like blanching of things. I did not know that, to drive off the air. And I was super curious because when I take my green beans out of the pressure canner, they look like they're boiling in there for a while. And so I hot packed my last one. I'm going to keep hot packing because even though it is an extra step, they smell so much better. I'm not going to lie to you. When you cold pack the green beans and then you put them in the pressure canner, I don't know, for some reason they do not smell nice. But when I did the hot pack, they smelled like a completely different thing, which does not make sense to me because like they're still cooking in the pressure canner, and like you still put boiling water on them before you put them in the pressure canner. So like I don't understand how they smell different. It's like they smelled nice and nutty. I don't know what's... But I did learn that it's worth that extra step for me. These things you learn. My mama were here, she could have told me, but she's not with us anymore. I love her. So is that enough shenanigans? Oh my gosh. That's enough, right? Yeah, okay. Because okay, yeah, that's good. Okay, let's talk about quilting. So last time I showed you, and if you're not interested in quilting, I'm going to start trying to remember to put the timestamps in the thing. And thank you to the person on YouTube who told me how to do it so that it would like make links so you could just like click on the title and it would go to the world is so fancy. I just found some strings that need to be cut. Oh, I can't get a hold of them. They're too short. I don't have scissors. Oh well, that's okay. So last time I showed you, I was doing a Moda cake mix on some layer cakes. So layer cakes are 10-inch square pre-cuts of a certain fabric line. And there's this thing, you can just look at the last episode, the last regular episode. There's been a bonus episode since then, but the last regular numbered episode. So I showed you some squares. So I finished my little bitty quilt. You're all like, you finished a quilt? No, it's a little bitty quilt. It's for my coffee table. Right. Okay, so I'm not gonna lie to you. I do not love this fabric. I may have bought it because there were turkeys and pheasants and pumpkins on it. But it's not really my colors that I like. I mean, it is because it's fallish, but whatever. It's a little bit license printy for me. So I actually got the pieces all together and I was like, I'm not sure I really like this enough to go forward. Maybe I should just use this as like a learning experiment. Like I learned what these layer cake things were, this paper piecing thing, and maybe that was just all I needed from them. But then I thought, no, I'll put it all together and I'll quilt it because I need more experience with that. And I wanted to, the last thing I haven't quilted with the walking foot before, and I wanted to see how that went. And I was like, this will be a good way to practice it. I'm so glad I went forward with it because the magic of quilting. I really like it now. I don't know, somehow just putting it together and getting the quilting onto it, I just think it's super cute. So I just use like a cotton batting. So it's again, it's just decorative. It doesn't need to be warm. I totally used some $2.99 IKEA backing fabric because it's literally on a coffee table. And even if it wasn't, this is totally fine fabric. It's $2.99 for like a 60-inch width. Just saying, IKEA. But yeah, I'm actually really pleased with how it turned out. Right? What was that noise? I just used the walking foot. I just used the like foot of the walking foot to just quilt every so often. It's totally not perfectly even or anything because I did try to kind of quilt along the seam line. So some of them are a little bit narrower or a little bit thicker, but it's so cute. Now, I'll be honest with you, on a quilt that's like on my bed, I don't really like the quilting this close together because it just isn't as warm. But I do aesthetically really like the way the quilting looks when it's very close together. I would not say this is quite matchstick because I think matchsticks is actually like a 1/4 inch apart, and this is like 3/8 to a half. I'm just making that up. But I just really like it. Oh, so anyway, so yeah, on a bed, I do like my quilting is spaced further apart because it's warmer. But for like decorative things, I really dig. So that's that. And then the other thing I'm making is I'm making Annie a puff quilt. Annie is my dog, who is the best dog. Gus hears me. Gus is our other dog. He is not the best dog. He's very cute, but he's bad. Annie is an angel. So I made this, I don't remember if I showed you this last time or not, but I made this sample up. I think I did, right? I don't know if I did or not. But anyway, so I made up this sample because I kind of thought it only needed, because I'm just making a quilt that kind of, we have a kind of mission style chair that I bought when I was in college for my dorm room because I'm kind of weird. But anyway, so it's been with me forever. And so, but it's kind of like Annie's chair now. And in the summertime, she sleeps underneath of it. She's right there, but we did have to put some skinny books underneath of it because it was a little bit too low for her. She was getting a little chunky. So it's a little bit hard for her to get under there. And she's like having a Pooh Bear moment where she was half in and half out. So we did kind of raise it up a little bit for her. But in the wintertime, she likes to sleep on the chair because it's too cold on the floor. So originally I thought I'll just make this kind of like just to fit right on the chair cushion and it'll just be like an extra layer of warmth for her. And so I really thought it was only going to need to be this wide. I really thought this was going to be like this wide, and it's definitely not. Because the top squares are 5 inches. I got this little charm pack that I had to get more of because it's not going to be enough. So the top squares are 5 inches, but then the underneath squares are 4 inches. So I think in the ombre puff quilt tutorial or whatever, I think she uses 4.5 inch up squares and then 4-inch backing squares. But since these were pre-cuts, I was just like, and I thought that way again, it would make it a little bit poofier for Annie. So yeah. So I've been working on my squares. I have a bunch of squares. They're all in this bin. And it makes me pretty happy. It makes me so much less stressed that they're all in one place. Because I'm weird like that. And it's really fun because as I'm working on other stuff, I can just maybe like if I need a little bit of a attention break, I can just like do a few of these little squares and then throw them in there. And then what we'll do is we'll just line them all up and figure out the layout, and then I'll sew them together and then I'll puff them. hope she likes it. Okay, so that's all the quilting. Right? Right. Okay, let's talk about knitting. Okay, so the first thing I'll show you is the thing you've seen before. I am working on Mr. Stephen West's Botanic shawl. Did I say? I'm not gonna look it up. I think that's what it's called. And I'm using some hand spun, and then I'm using this chroma fingering from Knit Picks. This is the Seahorse colorway. I know, right? Is it done yet? No, it's not. But the next time we talk, it is gonna be done. I'm telling you this because it needs to be done by the next time we talk. Whew, it's getting warm in here. So, but it's really attractive. Like, look at it. It's really pretty. It's totally not my normal color scheme, but it is gorgeous. And it's getting very bigly. I've got, last time I think we talked, I totally knocked like half of it off the needles. So I did put stitch markers in my interchangeables to keep it on the needles. It is really attractive, right? I mean, it's very pretty. So I'm on my last like increasey section. So I have to do that many more stitches. And I'm 4/11ths of the way done. And then when I get those rows done, I'll start the border. Yay! And I was really in my head just gonna work until I ran out of yarn. I don't have it in my soul. Apparently there's like 9,000 yards of this. I don't know how that happened, but some of it's pretty skinny. I'm not a skinny spinner at all, but apparently I was being motivated when I spun this. So yeah, I was really gonna, I don't think I can finish it. But that's that. And then I was looking for yarn for the next thing I'm going to show you. Well, the last thing I'm going to show you. And as I was looking for that yarn, I rediscovered this project. So do you remember the Vivid blanket? Have you been around for a minute? So Tin Can Knits. Pattern Vivid blanket. The squares look like this. I decided to do mine in Peace Fleece because it was the most affordable option, quite frankly, and I really love Peace Fleece. But I decided to do it like all autumnal colors. And so as I was looking for other yarn, I found this and I was like, I wonder how far away I am from finishing that thing. I mean, I'm sure in my head when I was working on this originally, which by the way, I looked up 2013. I thought to myself, I bet I haven't touched that blanket in like 3 years or 7. Same difference. And so I think originally when I started to knit it, I thought I was going to make it like huge. Like I was just going to make it this massive throw blanket. I mean, it was only going to make it a throw. It was never going to be like a quilt or anything. But I think in my head, I just thought it was going to make this really giant thing. And also, okay. Also, I think I was a little bit discouraged because I realized I was going to have to block all these squares, and I kind of got like about that. Because I will say, okay, I finished another one. Where did it go? I didn't block it, did I? Surely not. Oh my gosh. Really, lady? How many times? Oh, here it is. Okay. So, like, I think I also got discouraged because they look kind of... I should know better, right? Like, there's lace involved. I should know better. But, like, I think I was just like, yeah. And I think I thought I needed to make like 25 more squares or something. But turns out that once they're blocked, they are this big and flat. Imagine that. And I think to make a pretty reasonably sized throw, like it's not going to be gigantic, but it's a functional size throw, I only need to knit like well, I would have only needed like 3 more, and that would make it 6x4 squares because I had 21 squares. So I figured, I laid it out after I blocked it, and I feel like it's pretty reasonable to make it that big. And if not, I can always knit more squares. But I mean, really? I just let it sit in a bag for 7 years. Of course I did. Many of us have done the same thing. But just, you know. Oh, I love this color so much. Oh, Peace Fleece Wild Mustard. You have my heart. So gorgeous. Also, I love the Shaplova mushroom. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I love it. Right. I just let it. What? So anyway, don't you think it'd be pretty? I'll take it. Oh, I think, what? So I totally blocked all these squares. That was part of my homework. It was a lot of squares to block. And then I knit one, and I've got one in progress. I think maybe I slowed down too because I did not have, like, I think each skein of yarn I basically made 3 squares with, and then I kind of got to this point where I was like, do I have to buy a whole new, like, do I have to buy another skein of every color? I thought. And so that probably also kind of slowed me down. But I'm going to try to just finish, have enough brown, I think, to do the extra 3 squares with. And then, yeah, we'll just go from there. If I need to buy more yarn, I need to buy more yarn. That's okay. But yeah. So that's going to happen, right? Like, even if I just use it for, like, insulation, it'd be right. Okay, so then you want to find out what I was actually looking for yarn? Okay. My friend Becca, who's a little pierogi, who, by the way, such a good curator. She's a librarian, and she should curate my whole life for me. She posted this pattern on her Instagram feed. It's Frog and Toad. Did you remember Frog and Toad are friends? Frog and Toad, and the pattern is by Frog and Cast. So that's the pattern. Now, it is available, it is not available on Ravelry. It is available through Frog and Cast website. I will warn you, it is $15. And that, I did pause for at least 3 seconds on that one. But if you think about it, you get 2 stuffies and then outfits for both of them. So I figured $7.50 for each one was not unreasonable at all. And therefore, I just went for it. I'm not sad that I did. How about that? Are you ready? Wait, I gotta take his britches off. Okay, so I've been a little bit slumpy on my crafting lately, especially my knitting. I always forget that there's something about stuffies that I really... A good pattern. I'm not into like seaming and stuff like that, but a good pattern, stuffy, that I'm inspired to make is really good for me because it just requires that extra amount of focus to keep me from getting distracted and looking at the stupid internet. Like, I love that Stephen West shawl, and I really appreciate that it's very mindless knitting, but what happens to me often when I have mindless knitting is that I then am mindless and I get distracted easily. And my brain is like, oh, I wonder what that Moda fabric cider is. When is that coming out? Is that coming out in November? Let me go check. Oh, I wonder if there's any quilts that anybody has done for tests for those. Let me look at that. Oh, look, oops, look at that cute gerbil. You know. So the great thing about stuffy is that it helps me focus a little bit better. It requires more of my attention, which is not always good for all occasions, but it's really good when I have a slump. So I need to remember that. And can we discuss? So the pattern is written so that the stuffy itself is in DK and its clothing is in fingering. The stuffy is knit on US ones, as is the clothing. So you only need 1 set of needles. Which of course DK on US ones is very tight, but that helps you to keep your stuffy firm without the stuffing showing through. So yeah. If you're a very tight knitter, you may not need to go down to a 1, but for me, it was perfect. I mean, come on, look at it. So I used 1 strand of Brooklyn tweed fingering weight. Is that Loft? I think so. In the Artifact colorway. And then 1 strand of Rauma fingering in like an olive color. And is he not so cute? He's knit top down, and then you do his arms, and then you do his eyeballs. And let me just discuss, you have to cut his eyeballs. You make like eyeball sockets that you then put an eyeball into. What? I told myself that on my next one, I was going to do like rip cords. Like, you know, like for Laura Linneman's Afterthought heel, like where you, okay, spoiler alert, I started on the toad. So you knit waste yarn into the place, and then you go back when you're all done and you're ready to pick up for that arm. Look at my stitch marker. Isn't he the cutest? He's my wool husband. Best fans ever. You can just rip these stitches out to pick up the stitches underneath and over top. So it's like you don't have to cut anything. And I'm not averse to cutting my knitting at all. The arm you don't have to cut. It's just the eyeball. I'm not averse to cutting my knitting at all, but it's just like 4 stitches and it made me a little bit nervous. Obviously it's a stuffed animal. I did not use superwash wool. It seems fine, but it did make me a little nervous. And I told myself on this one, I'm going to put in a little waste yarn there instead of cutting it. And then I didn't because I was doing something else at the time and couldn't be bothered. But on the next one, so yeah, you totally like cut his little eyes out and then you like knit his eyelids and then you sew his eyeball in. And look how cute it turns out. Right? Let me also discuss that if you're me and you're too big for your breeches, you start up here, and she suggests that you use, or they suggest, actually I don't know what human made this pattern, but they suggest that you use a crochet, like a provisional cast on, so that you can go back and just Kitchener it closed. And I thought, I'll just use the Judy's because like, hi. But this is the best way to stuff him. So you'll see on my frog, on my toad, I did use a crochet provisional cast on. Because what I had to do is like do his body in one leg, and then I did his eyeballs, and then I did his arms, and then I stuffed him from this leg, which was not bad, but I think it would have been better to stuff him from above. And he's got some gravel in his butt to help him sit down a little bit. So I also started, so this is, I was looking for yarn for him, and I found those knittings, those squares, and I was like, oh my gosh, get with your program. But here's his breeches so far. This is the People in Maine. This is Bartlett Yarns, Dark Sheep's Gray. It's sport weight, it's supposed to be fingering weight, whatever. It's pants for a frock. And also this is Weaver, so it'll bloom up, so he'll have real fuzzy pants. But look at this, isn't it cute? It's like 2x1 ribs, so they kind of look like corduroys. I'm dying. So I have to make his cardigan. I'm not sure. Like my heart really wants to make it this color, but maybe I should make it this color, which I also love, but I just don't know for sure. And then I'm knitting on Frog. And Frog I'm knitting with also Bartlett yarns, I believe. In like I don't know what it's called. And also some Green Mountain Spinnery. So again, just 2 fingering sport weight, whatever. Held double. And I'm not averse at all to knitting with DK yarn. It's so satisfying when you get to use scraps for a stuffy because they're so small. And I also kind of look like the tweedier look of holding the 2 yarns together, especially for Frog and Toad, which have that kind of 70s aesthetic to me from my childhood. But like, look how cute he is so far. I tried this combination actually what I tried first is just both strands with this, but it just looked too dull. So then I tried a strand of Brooklyn Tweed Loft in the, really I did a whole sweater out of this colorway. I can't remember. But it was too yellowy. So this one I thought worked well for Toad. But like, look how cute their little chin is. What they're gonna sew on his little face. This is his little grumpy looking mouth. And like, look at his little calves, little thighs. Oh, and look how cute those little feet are. And the figures are super fun to do too. Not fiddly feeling. Well, to me, for a toy, it's not fiddly feeling. But yeah, look how cute is he. So in the pattern, what you do is just basically work back and forth here and here for little armholes. So I just did decide to do some like an afterthought armhole, just because I kind of like the orientation to be this way instead of this way. Very minimal. Totally just me being ridiculous. But especially since Toad is pictured in his bathing costume, I thought maybe I would like his arm that way better. But by the way, they're totally holding hands in the pattern. Did you see it? Be still my heart. The author of Frog and Toad is gay. I don't know if he came out. I don't know the story, but he is, and it just makes it even more to me. But so yeah, he's so cute. He's gonna hold hands with his friends soon. So anyway, they're very cute. I do suggest that I'm using ChowGoo US ones, and I think they are great for stuffies. They're a strong needle and they're a very sharp needle, and you do want both, especially when you're knitting at a tight gauge like this. You definitely want a smooth join because again, you're knitting at a tight gauge, but man, that pointy needle is super helpful because you're working lots of knit two togethers, and it really helps, and slips and knits, but especially, actually both of them, it helps if you have a good sharp needle. And again, it helps if it's a strong needle. I would not want to work these with bamboos. Just the way I knit, I know I would probably break them. The pattern is written for double points, so if you're a double point knitter, but certainly, obviously you can use magic loop, which is what I prefer for toy knitting usually. I think I am going to make Toad pants and a cardi though. I mean, his bathing costume is very cute, but it's not what I remember. It's not like what I identify him with. So I'm glad that there's the option. Maybe he'll just have a wardrobe. Oh my gosh, maybe he'll have a steamer trunk and like things on a hanger inside of it. Oh my gosh, shush. I'm gonna turn into one of these people. Go ahead and head for it. But yeah, do you think they'd be cute for his pants?
Not only does he think he deserves a new term, in his words specifically, he says he wants a redo because the first
My daughter is totally ranting about political stuff on her social studies class. Oh wait, no, it's English language arts. What's she talking about that for? Whatever. Anyway, so that's that. I'm very enamored, if you cannot tell. And I definitely did not spend a lot of my internet wandering time looking at stuffy patterns. By the way, I totally have a portrait of Frog and Toad on my wall before I made these guys. That's why I had to instantly cast on for them. So yeah, very exciting, very cute. Also, okay, so then that's it. If you don't want to be tempted by shop update news, then I will totally talk to you next time. If you do, I actually have already shown these, but I thought I would just show them again, just in case you had forgotten. By the way, if you're interested, there are still Charlie Harper Halloween bags in the shop. And full disclosure, okay, I'm gonna get them and show them to you. So there are still Charlie Harper Halloween bags in the shop. And as an added bonus, I'm not sure, I don't think I told you this last time. I did finish them while watching season 1 of Scooby-Doo. Because I really needed this bag for some reason. I think it's the eyeballs. Every time I see it, the theme song of Scooby-Doo runs through my head. Right? I think it's the eyeball factor. But so if you're interested in either of these guys, they and all their combined good Scooby-Doo vibes are still on the website. Meddling kids, please apply. But then, ooh, I'm sorry, let me tell you. This Friday, which is the 18th, I will have another update in the shop. So it has these super cute acorn bags. These are the sock plus size. These all have a natural unbleached lining. These are a lightweight twill. Aren't they cute? I mean, this ochre, anything with ochre, I'm like, can I have that? Really. In fact, I think, oh no, one of these bags does not have ochre on it. All the other ones do. So we have these guys, right? If you don't have at least 4 mason jars of zinnias scattered around your house, you might need this, but also if you do have 4 mason jars of zinnias, you might also need it. So basically, we need it. Just saying. Oh, right, with the coneflowers. Oh. What is up with me in this like pink fall vibe? I've never been a pinky peachy person before, but I don't know, lately I'm feeling it. Speaking of which, the next bag contains both ochre and pinky peachy. So this is, oh, I just love it. Right. So, oh, I'm so sorry. This one is linen cotton. This one is a cotton, like a denim. And, oh, I just love it. And this smoky lavender color too. Ooh, dying. Just dying. We're just walking, and there's like a fall meadow that just opens up, and we're just like, oh, let's take our knitting and sit. And magically there are no bugs. Because the ground wasps have eaten them all. Except the cute bumblebees, and they don't bother them. And so, this one, which does not have ochre, but does have peachy pink. This one is available. This is the Aran size, so this is a great sweater bag if you are knitting a heavyweight sweater, a sweater for a larger person. If you're knitting like a crazy 6-skein, you know, if you're knitting the Stephen West mystery shawl, this bag will totally hold 5 skeins in project. But you know, if you're just feeling it, it holds bunny rabbits and cats. Definitely, my dog would fit in there, but he would not like it. So this one is available in both an Aran size and a sweater size. And then lastly, also available in both the Aran size and the sweater size, is this guy. What? Love it. Would I have ever put like a dark aqua and like a rust together? No, I wouldn't have. Does it look great? Yes, it does. Stop. So if you want to see this is the Aran size and this is the sweater size. Here they're next to each other. But the Aran size is like a 7-inch gusset and the sweater only has a 5, so it's pretty much bigger. So yeah. So that's what's going to be available. I'm very excited about all of the options. Okay. That is all for this time. I hope that all of your ground wasps are pleasant, even if they look a little spooky. I hope you get a 2 strawberry starburst in your Halloween candy. I know it's not Halloween yet, but some of us are dipping into the candy a little early. I'm just saying. I hope that if you like the pumpkin spice, you get as much pumpkin spice as you want. I hope if you like the apple cider, you get the most warm apple cider steeped with delicious mulling spices that you want. That's what I want. I hope you rediscover how delicious oatmeal is with toast for dinner. Every time I have it for dinner, I'm excited about it. Like, it's always one of those, I don't know what else to make meals, and like I'm tired, but then I eat it and I'm like, why don't we have this at least once a week? And I hope that you find A Frog and Toad Are Friends book, and you don't have to read it, but I just hope you look at the illustrations at least, and they are comforting to you. And I will talk to you next time.